Hello, hello. I am very excited because we are going to shake things up a bit for this month's Coffee with Roy. I'm going to chat with my teammate Chavi, who's normally behind the scenes here at Team Diva. We're going to look at the Seattle real estate market today and compare it to what it was like to work in Seattle during the Great Recession. Do we have more similarities or differences? And we're going to nerd out a bit about what's happening in the economy. But first, let's make some coffee. Today I'm starting with this Martin Lopez Alvarado blend from Dune Coffee Roasters out of Santa Barbara, California. I can promise you that the gorgeous package reflects the coffee. What a beautiful, rich, and aromatic blend. We're going to brew this through our Fellow pour over today. It's a nearly foolproof way to get a great cup of coffee. It's important first to let the coffee bloom before fully brewing. I like to take my time, slowly pouring the hot water onto the grounds. It helps the coffee's flavors pop and gives me a minute to pause and breathe. Now on to the interview. Chavi, why don't you introduce yourself to the Coffee with Roy community?
Oh, yay. My name is Chavi. I am one of the founders of Team Diva, along with my wife, Kim Colopretti, who obviously you know. And I actually got my real estate agent in 2008 in June, right? Wow. And so fall of 2008 is like when banks started failing and there was like...
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
It was rough.
I know that you've been looking at and making quite a bit of content right now about the Seattle real estate market. And we've been texting a lot about what's going on with the Fed and interest rates and all of that stuff. But how do you see our market now in comparison to 2008 and that recession market?
In some ways, it feels the same because it's like out of the blue, someone just turned the faucet off, right? And like definitely with the Fed's increasing interest rates, like the faucet has been turned off and people are like, oh my God, I can't buy a house or I can't afford a house. And that's just waiting in time. But the biggest difference, and I've seen this directly, is just how much equity people actually have in their house. Like we're in Rocky's listing. This guy, I think, bought it for $350,000, like in the middle of the recession, right? And he's selling it for roughly around $800,000. He has equity.
Right. So because homeowners have a lot more equity now, how does that change the mindset from where we were back then?
Oh, totally. Well, two things. So there's a couple things that have been happening in the market for the last couple of years. One, people are having to put down $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 to win a house, whereas back in 2006, 2007, people were putting down zero or like not that much, right? And so you're like, it's easy to walk away from something you didn't pay anything for, right?
Right.
But you're not going to walk away from $300,000, and you're also not going to drop the price dramatically. You're like for instance, your clients, like you have clients right now, and they're like, we know the value of this, and if we have to, we'll rent it.
Right, and that's exactly it. I mean, and that's kind of the tough part about the sale market right now is everybody's thinking like, oh, because there are no buyers, then prices are just, they have to drop and they have to drop. But really for sellers, like because they have so much equity, they can just stand still.
Totally.
And because they know the value of their home.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people like Kim and I mean, we bought our house in 2004. We don't owe that much money on it. Our mortgage payment is $2,500 a month. Our interest rate is 2.97. And you make your best, you make your best sell when you buy. And obviously I was like, well, we could sell now, right? And we still have, but I was like, why would I? I'm just going to wait this out. Right. Like I'm sitting on a fairly low mortgage payment.
Yeah, well, and that's some advice that I've been working with buyers and sellers, right? Is like for sellers right now, if you don't have to sell, you probably shouldn't. You can just wait, or rent. Like totally. Exactly like you just said. Okay. So if interest rates are as high as they are, and people are really worried about that, we've seen high interest rates before. You've seen high interest rates before. So what should we be telling buyers right now that really are motivated to still go out and buy?
Totally. It goes back to my first point. You make your money on the buy, right? And so Seattle in general, we have a limited amount of land. We have some really pretty harsh NIMBY like housing practices, which means we don't have a lot of density. And so, if you're able to buy a house in Seattle, you're fine. You're totally fine, right? So when you make your money when you buy, there's no competition right now. And there are people out there that do need to sell. Like we have one listing right now in Kenmore. Those people have to sell. And they're like, someone bring us an offer and we'll work with it. It's kind of their general attitude. And so it's kind of like picking off. So my advice to buyers, and this is something that Kim and I are looking for, because we do need to downsize in exactly 5 years. And we're looking at, I was like, oh my God, we could get ourselves a sweet condo right now. And sure, we'll probably have to pay a little bit out of pocket for the first like couple years or so, but like I know that the market will fluctuate and stabilize and everything will just come around. And then by the time I'm ready to move into that place and sell our big house in Cedar Park, I already made money. Like I made money on the first time and I'm making money again because like I didn't pay that much money for this condo.
That's a really good point. You know, and going back to your comment about equity, you know, what's really interesting is that a lot of the buyers that I'm working with right now that are still very much motivated are buy-up buyers. So they own something currently, they want to buy something new. And having that amount of equity is great because it means that they can put a larger down payment down, which means that they could theoretically buy their rate down.
Sure.
Or, you know, they can leverage all of that money in order to make that jump where it's not going to impact them nearly as much as if they didn't have that money, I guess.
No, like 100%. And then, but the weird thing about this market, and this is a little bit different than last time, is that you have so many younger brokers that are in this market and they don't really understand the art of negotiation. I mean, you and Rocky have been working with us since 2004, and like there was definitely a couple of years there where you had to negotiate.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Right. And so they don't understand how you bring an offer, how you talk through another agent. I think both you and I listened to that podcast with our friend Gwen, and she really articulated really well about what it takes to kind of put a deal together, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing that I don't think a lot of people understand too. That brings up a good point, is that there's a lot of collaboration that happens between both sides. You know, and so everyone wants a win, and they see a win as a detriment to the other side.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm getting this for less than they are willing to sell it for, or if I'm selling it for, you know, more than someone wants to pay for it, that's their win. But really, at the end of the day, the win is making the move.
Yeah.
The seller selling, the buyer buying. And so, you know, yeah, we have to go in and write strong offers that could be low and negotiate on things that should be fixed. But overall, the win is the most important part, which is buying the house,
Totally.
selling the house.
Totally. You've been really good, and I've like heard you like talk to your clients and so on, but you've been really great about talking to your buyers and your sellers. And I noticed that like specifically with some of your listings, like what is the conversations you're having with your sellers? Because I'm sure there's like my neighbor sold my house, but that was like 3 rate hikes ago, right?
The phrase I heard the other day is the tornado market. So that's the idea that a tornado is coming through and it affects one house, but it may miss every other house on the block. And yeah, so there is very much that's the constant. How are we going to sell my house for what my neighbor sold for? Or my neighbor got 9 offers and we aren't. Like, what's going on there? And I think that, you know, what's really tough right now is that we're in a market that sellers have not seen.
No.
You know, everyone that's selling right now probably bought in the last 3 to 5 years. So they don't understand that all of the diva difference things that we already do, which is make your house look great, fix all the things that are broken, do kick-ass marketing, you know, all of those things that we've done through this are more important now because you have to rise above everything else that's on the market.
Oh my God, yeah.
And in order to rise above, you have to be attractive. You have to have great staging. You have to have great marketing. You also have to be at a price that is in the realm of what a buyer is willing to spend.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a great 3-bedroom house and you really want $2 million for it, well, too bad.
Yeah.
You know, you have to price at what your neighbors are pricing at currently or less in order to attract the right buyer to come in and actually make the deal happen.
Oh my God, totally. I think it would be really interesting. I don't know if you'd be okay with this because I love watching your demand rate portion of this.
Oh, yeah.
But so I, you know, used to run demand rate all the time during the recession. And
You taught me all about demand rate.
exactly. And I think it would be fun if you could tell me what the demand, because I think people's perception, because like it feels the same because the faucet was turned off, but I think people's perception of how much actual inventory there's out there versus what it was really like running. So would you be okay going through the demand rate with me?
Absolutely, I'd love to. I just ran the numbers yesterday, and the demand rate for October is showing more housing supply, but we still aren't seeing runaway inventory for homes under $3 million. So for the luxury market, which is over $3 million, those properties are still at 8.6 for a demand rate.
Which is not bad, because that's only 8 months of inventory.
That's true.
Right?
Single family homes right now are at a demand rate of 2.03, which is stabilizing.
Yeah.
That's almost exactly the same as it was last month at this time.
Yeah.
And condos are slightly higher at 2.94. So what does that mean? That means we have 100 more single family homes on the market. We have about 70 more condos currently available. But for a market as big as the city of Seattle, that's not very many new homes available.
What I think is so interesting about those numbers, I definitely see the condo numbers going up. And if I was a condo seller right now, I would basically, my advice would be like, only sell if you absolutely have to, and you just need to hang on the market so everyone else will go, because people will start getting off the market after the election. Totally. Right? So when I was working on Capitol Hill, and we had a 2-bedroom condo that came on the market, and 2 bedrooms are always higher demand, so those numbers are always roughly 1 to 1. And the highest it got was about 3 months of inventory, so demand rate at 3.0. So overall, I still feel like the condo market is in really good condition. And last time during the recession, basically there was all these new projects, all these new townhouse projects, all these new condo projects. And what a lot of developers did was just convert them immediately into apartment buildings.
That's right, they did.
Yeah, and or start renting these townhouses. And so, and that is not happening this time around.
No, it's really not. We have almost no building happening, or comparatively no building happening. I know there's some new houses coming in down by me, and we're seeing condo buildings rise up downtown, but it's not at the clip that's going to make any sort of dent in the overall market.
No. And I don't want to say there's not risk in this market, right?
Of course.
Because honestly, I mean, it's really and I've overconsumed information about the economy right now, and I'll definitely include that in the blog, because I'm sure it's going to be so nerdy that I don't know if people really want to talk about that. But I mean, really, the Fed's, in order to fight inflation, you're dealing with the Ukraine war, the fact that OPEC decided to shut off oil supplies, which means the cost of fertilizer is going to go up, which means the cost of food is going to go up. I mean, there's just all these factors, and the Feds are trying to land this plane without a lot of, they're basically trying to land this plane and turn off the faucet of consumption, and houses are a key consumption point, because when someone buys a house, they buy paint, they buy furniture, they throw parties for their friends to show off their house, they do all the things, right? And it's a huge stimulus to the economy. And so the number one way to de-stimulate the economy is to be let's make it expensive. Right?
Well, because it's not just interest rates for houses that are going up, it's interest rates for credit cards and personal loans and cars. All of those things are happening at once, and they tend to affect the big ticket items a little bit more bluntly, it feels like. I
mean, the Feds want us, and people like Kim and Xavi and Roy and Katie, they want us to eat through our savings, and simultaneously they kind of just need people to stop consuming, so just prices can stabilize, and then they're doing that in a very complicated situation. So
totally.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to. So there's still risk in this market, and I heard something today, and I thought it was so great. A recession is always an opportunity, and never waste a recession. I was like, oh yeah, Team Diva got started during a recession, and I was like, there are opportunities.
Well, one of my favorite phrases that you like to say a lot from Game of Thrones is chaos is a ladder.
It's true. It's true.
So, using this time is definitely a time where you can make smart choices in leveling up your house if you really want to.
Totally.
But we're both kind of saying and dancing around, there's always risk and there's always reward. Yeah. And if it just feels too risky, don't. No. But if it doesn't feel too risky, then there is reward out there to be had, which is a new fancy house.
Totally. And spend some of that savings you have. Just maybe you have to put more money down. Roy, this was so much fun.
This was super fun. Thank you so much.
Usually I'm on the other side of that. Over there. Or over there.
That's true. You're usually in the back going, Roy, get excited. But I thank you so much for joining me this month. I really appreciate it.
Coffee with Roy, it's so tasty.
Happy October.
Yay.